James Wood looks like a bona fide star. The Commanders finally have, answered the game's most important position at quarterback. And when I think about what Jayden Daniels did during his rookie year, it gets me thinking about how special this year has been for James Wood. And those of you that are not, familiar with James Wood and don't watch the Nats every night, this 22-year-old, despite the record, right, 28-31, couple of games under 500, like 4 or 5 games out of the final wild card spot in the National League, despite all of that, James Wood has quite literally been the best young hitter in baseball this year and looks like a guy that is going to be, perennially talked about as a superstar MVP type of candidate, man. Like, he is legit. And it always is special to me, and I always enjoy James Wood convos because he's from here, right? The pride of Olney, Maryland. Born in Rockville, a Montgomery County cat through and through. I always tell this story. I bumped into him at a Wizards game. And I'll be real, I didn't even realize that it was him, right? Just cool, calm, collected. You wouldn't notice him. Well, he's 6'7". So that stands out, obviously, like a sore thumb, right? But if you see him at a sporting event, right, at an NBA game where there are other massive human beings walking around, you wouldn't really notice him, right? Wearing his Wrangler jeans, his ASIC kicks, his generic North Face jacket, just looking like a bro. One of the guys, little did I know, he was going to come into this year and be an absolute monster. He's tied for the 5th most homers in all of Major League Baseball with 16. I think that leads the National League. He's got 44 RBIs on the year. That's tied for 8th in all of Major League Baseball, and he's tied for 6th in the majors with a 9.52 OPS. So every metric with this young man at the plate kind of just shows you he's elite. He's elite. And the thing that, and I've had some conversations with different folks about this in terms of like trying to compare the two, him and Jayden Daniels. It's a tricky thing to do because it's hard to quantify, 2 stars from 2 different sports. But from an impact standpoint, I think Jayden Daniels, because quarterback is a more impactful position, right? He touches the ball every damn play. He is the quarterback. It's probably the most important position in all of pro sports. The fact that we're even able to make this conversation make some sort of sense comparing James Wood to him showed you just how elite Wood has been at the plate. And I think when we talk about the question that we're going to ask you at 1-800-636-1067, who is viewed more favorably in their sport over the next 5 years? Who's the bigger star in either the National Football League or Major League Baseball over the next 5 years? Jayden Daniels or James Wood? Now, before this past week, the one area where I think Jayden completely clears James Wood out of the park is the stardom, the it factor, the marketability. I just talked about James, 22, but he's quiet, calm, cool, collected, and that's no slight to who he is, right, as a person. By all accounts, tremendous young man. By the performance that he gives you at the plate, super hardworking, team first guy. Love everything about him. But we talked about this, and we talk about this all the time. Jayden's got aura. Not saying that James Wood doesn't have aura. It's a different type of aura, right? I told you from now on, I'm calling him Papa James. If you remember last week, the commercial that comes out via Papa John's, and I was stunned to see it because when you think about James Wood's personality and what he's shown you to this point, it didn't seem like a guy that's going to be pressed to be in a bunch of commercials. Not saying that he is. But seeing him in that Papa John's commercial made me go, man, think about what could be with this dude. Think about what it is and what it ain't with James Wood. Bona fide star. And now that the marketing stuff is coming his way, the advertisements, the attention dollars, so to speak, I think his stardom only grows. But when we're talking about who's the bigger star in their sport over the next 5 years, I think the other layer of this conversation we got to get into is, and it's hard to, once again, I'm admitting this is hard to quantify. I get it. Is James Wood a better hitter than Jayden Daniels is a quarterback? And I know that's something I get it, super difficult to quantify. But I guess it just speaks to, it's really out of respect for James Wood, man. He's been that good to start the year. And I got a couple of numbers here that kind of quantify how good he's been, but it's fascinating to watch. And I mentioned with Bobby Blanco the graphic that was thrown up on Masson on Saturday during the game, comparing James Wood to Bryce Harper and Juan Soto over the past couple of years, or excuse me, over the first 136 games of their career. So this is via Codify Baseball. James Wood is the only player, this is crazy, the only player in Major League Baseball history to have a 380 plus on base percentage with 15 plus homers and 9 plus steals in his team's first 56 games before turning 23. So if that, hopefully that helps paint the story and tell the story of just how good James Wood has been this year. Only guy in Major League Baseball history to accomplish that feat. The other stat that was thrown out there, and I think this was via our guy Grant Paulson, and I'm struggling to pull it up here. This is from Grant the other day, from May the 28th. The full list of players right now in Major League Baseball hitting over 280 with 15 plus homers and 8 plus stolen bases. Shohei Ohtani and James Wood. So I think even if you're the casualist of baseball fan, you understand how much of a unicorn Shohei Ohtani is. You understand how much of an elite athlete Shohei Ohtani is. The fact that him and James Wood are the only guys in a category should show you just how great James Wood is. Now, the question that I want to ask at 1-800-636-1067, I'm doing this on the fly here, kind of, in terms of how we should best frame this, because I get it as a difficult comparison to make. Who will be viewed as the bigger star in their sport over the next 5 years? Jayden Daniels or James Wood? 1-800-636-1067. Now, I get it. Team success for the Commanders, I think, kind of skews the conversation and skews the result towards Jayden. But in terms of just pure talent, pure ability, I mean, baseball truthers out there can tell you this if you've watched this kid this year. At 6'7", there's not a more smooth or effortless swing in all of Major League Baseball. Quite literally, and I know people are going to say, well, is he making this comparison just because they're two big, humongous freakazoids? We have Aaron Judge here in our nation's capital, pretty much. That is the best way that I can try and get a casual Nats fan to understand just how elite this dude is. He's Aaron Judge of D.C. He's the National League Aaron Judge. He's that good. So when you consider him being in that territory at 22 years of age, compared to Jayden Daniels, who I think we all agree here locally, right? I guess recency bias kind of, takes into account here, but top 5 quarterback, top 7 quarterback at worst in the National Football League. When you think about the way both of those two guys are viewed right now, 5 years from now, who's viewed more favorably? 1-800-636-1067. Sean is in Falls Church, wants to chime in. What's going on, Sean?
Hey, doing well. Thank you for taking my call. I guess I'm making a weird comparison, but I'm equating it to soup.
Okay.
The way that we're going about this, James Wood, here's the thing. They both, James Wood, Jayden Daniels, have the right ingredients. You put them in at the right time, everything is going to taste amazing. James Wood is the kind of guy that puts his spoon on the top of the pot, lets it simmer, lets it do its thing. It's still going to taste good. Jayden Daniels is the type of guy that's going to stir it at the right time. Yeah. Not going to stir the pot necessarily, if you know what I mean, like an Anthony Edwards might.
Right.
We'll get to that later. It's the right amount of stirring. I think that Jayden Daniels, especially for this town, just speaks a little bit more. I think also having Scott Boras as the agent for James Wood, I think that stirs the pot in a different way that Nationals fans don't want to hear about. Kind of thing.
Not a good thing.
But no.
So I appreciate your call as always, Sean. We'll read a couple of comments from the chat as well, because I think this is a fascinating conversation. Roby-Wan Kenobi says, first of all, hell of a name. Jayden will be the bigger star because football is the 1 seed, but James will be a star. So that's where I think when I was debating and hashing out this topic, that's kind of where I kind of came to a halt. It's like, damn, is it fair to James Wood? not only do I think it's fair to James Wood, I think it's a compliment to James Wood. Everyone knows it. If, from a popularity standpoint, the NFL is king, right? The NFL is like Neiman Marcus, and like Major League Baseball is like Fashion Over Men's in terms of like popularity, mystique, aura, all that. So, yeah, Jayden probably has the better chance to be a bigger star because of the league he plays in, one, how good he is, and then just the popularity of football. But James Wood, the fact that we're even able to have this conversation, I think, speaks to how elite he is and the type of potential he has in Major League Baseball as just a 22-year-old. 1-800-636-1067. Something else that was pointed out in the chat, and I saw this as well. And let's just be real here. And maybe I'm in the minority here. Take your calls on this as well, because I'm curious to see what you all think. You can get at us in the chat as well. My best friend is an Eagles fan. So I think it is kind of, made my disdain, my hate for that group a lot deeper, because I can't get him to shut the hell up. But Saquon Barkley announced as the Madden 26 cover athlete, and it's him doing that ridiculous hurdle that he hit. Do you all agree with me out there? And maybe this is something that we'll hash out a little bit later on in the summer when we're in those dog days where there's nothing to watch and all that. At this current juncture, I hate the Eagles more than I hate the Cowboys. The Eagles, to me, are the bigger rival to the Washington Commanders right now than the Dallas Cowboys in terms of the relevancy of the games played and then where the two teams are moving forward. But I don't want to get sidetracked too much. Something for you to think about. 1-800-636-1067. 5 years from now, who is the bigger star in their sport? 22-year-old James Wood of the Washington Nationals, who is off to just a tacky hot start at the plate, or Jayden Daniels, who came out guns a-blazing, leading the Commanders to their first conference championship since the 90s. 1-800-636-1067. Kenny is in Boston, wants to chime in. What's going on?
Lynnell, thanks for taking my call. This is a great question, and I'm glad I heard the second part of it. Unfortunately, James Wood will most likely not even be with us in 5 years.
Jeez, Kenny. Jeez, brother.
I don't want to rain on the parade, Lynnell. Until this organization shows me that we're going to stop losing 90 to 100 games every year and offloading our talent. It's been very discouraging watching all these ballers all over the MLB that used to wear the Nationals uniform,
Yeah. I hear you 100%.
So I would say Jayden, because Jayden's going to be with a more structured organization, and we're going to keep building around him and getting better and better as we go. Does that make sense?
100%. And I feel like, do you agree with what I'm saying? It feels like the convo naturally is skewed toward Jayden because of the popularity of the NFL, but I think it speaks to just how good James Wood has been throughout his first full season up in the bigs that we're even able to have this convo.
James Wood is dynamite, and my fear is that it's going to be another Juan Soto situation.
Yeah.
I really hate to say that, but that is my biggest fear, because this organization has shown just that, right?
Yeah. So the thing about that is I'm holding out hope, right, as a Montgomery County guy, that maybe it means a little something to James that he grew up watching the Nationals. I don't know if it was his favorite team or not, but you would have to assume so unless he was an Orioles fan. But, I don't know, man. I cross my fingers, on that conversation, because we've already been through enough, haven't we, as Nats fans, losing out.
We've been through so much. I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard to be a sports radio guy and know that we have to listen to the Nationals every night. But it's okay. It's okay, because I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to rain on this conversation.
You're
both
all
dynamite
good,
superstars. They're both dynamite superstars.
For sure. I appreciate the call, as always, man. 1-800-636-1067. Real quick here, our guy Tay Wilson types in, James Wood gets a game away from the World Series, we can talk. I hear you. Let's not forget what Jayden Daniels did. And I think as we get deeper into the offseason and the news becomes more few and far between with the Commanders, you all sleep on how good Jayden Daniels actually was last year. Not even just from a throwing the football standpoint, from a running the football standpoint. His personality, the magnet that he is, the enigma that he is. And then I was going back and watching games from last year over the weekend, and I was watching that Tampa playoff game. I've watched a lot of football over the past decade plus, right? I don't think I ever remember a rookie quarterback having that type of command, that type of control at the line of scrimmage the way that Jayden Daniels had. And the play that I think about is the deep shot to Terry McLaurin against Tampa in the playoff game. Gets up to the line of scrimmage, shifts the protection, gets them in the right play, and then boom, the rest is history. It felt like we saw that routinely last year.